Okay, so the final part in part A, it's part 8 here, change rule 1 so that the score is adjusted according to the password lengths as shown in the following table. So let's have just a quick look at rule 1. Currently, if the length of the password is greater than 7, well, increase the score by 5. So increase the score by 5. You'll notice here if I jump to the reference guide, you've got these comparison operators as well to help you here. So that's greater than or higher as it's called here, less than or lower as it's called here, greater than or equal to. Greater than, so that's like higher or equal to, and less than or equal to. So that's kind of the same number and less. So in our case here, we're going to have so greater than 7 characters plus 5 points. We've already accounted for that, and we're going to have, well, if it's not greater than 7 characters, it's going to be 4 to 7 or less than 4. So just a little bit, I suppose, about if else statements here before we go any further. So basically, if you have just one statement like above, it's going to be if condition and that's it, right? If condition and that's it. If you have a second one and just a second one, it's going to be else, right? If you have an if and an else, if you have a second kind of clause in it. So, or otherwise, you could have, I'm going to call this final, because your second one then has to be an elif, and maybe you'll have a third one, that'll be another elif, maybe you'll have a fourth one, elif, so that's why I'm saying final here, because that'll be first, second, third, fourth, fifth in this one. It'll be the fourth in that one, it'll be the third in this one. But basically, if you have one on its own, it's if you have two, it'll be else, but if you have more than two, the elif is brought in, and after that then whatever one's the final one, the rest of them will be out. So with that in mind, we have our next condition here is an elif, the length of the password, and I'm putting it inside brackets here, this condition, if it is greater than or equal, or as it says here in your cheat sheet, higher or equal to. Higher or equal to. So I'm going to say if it's greater than or equal to 4, and, so the reason we're saying and here is we want both conditions to be satisfied, because if I said or here, once it comes in and check the first one, if it was greater than 4, I'd get a true, and then I'd be straight in. So I could actually have the number, well, look, I suppose you could just say greater than or equal to 4, but I like to be completely clean here in my code when I'm doing. So I'm going to say the length of the password, and I'll show you how I can have this slightly changed now that I see it, is less than or equal to 7. So this is kind of confined parameters I'm giving it here. Well, what's the score then? Score plus equal to, I think it's 2. We have a quick jump across here. 2 points if that's the case. And finally, if it's less than 4 characters, well, we're going to get minus 2 points. So the last one, as we say here, your else score. So it has to be, if it's not greater than 7, and if it's not between 4 and 7, including 4 and 7 inclusive, well, then the score must be minus 4 points or minus 2 points? Minus 2 points. So some test inputs to check out now. So let me roll up this so we're not spending too long messing around. And what we're going to get here, so our test inputs, let's put it side by side. So I'm going to run this and make it down a bit smaller maybe. The first thing I'm going to put in is sun. And sun, we get minus 1 out. Run it again. The next sun we want to put in is capital S for sun. And we get 6. That's looking good. Next thing we want to put in there is sun 2. And we get 9 out. So far, so good. Control L to clear my shell. The next one we want to do is 2 sun 3. And we get out 12. Next one we want is 3 sunshine, we should get 19. And we do get 19. Pretty cool. And the last one here is 3 sunshine 7. And you get your 22, so it's working completely correctly. And another thing just to note here, so some of you might be saying, why do you have to do it the way I did it above? Well, you don't. Like, it works correctly, and I'm a person that likes the defined kind of parameters, if you like here. But you could have actually just said here, instead of writing down all that, you could have said, else if the length of the password is greater than or equal to 4. Now that will also work because what will happen here is it will check if the length of the password is greater than 7. If it's not, it will move on and do the next check, which is saying if the length of the password is greater than or equal to 4. I prefer using the both checks on it just to make 100% correct, because certain questions can prove trickier, but that way is just as good, and you should get full marks to that. And I could run a load of tests, but I can guarantee you that's correct.